Brian, so we know the news is about to break. Obviously that you're taking a sort of backroom approach to 2026, stepping down as head coach. Was that a decision you were always going to come to at the end of the day? That you were going to just do this season and then not be as head coach?
Well, I think if you look at the opening gambits, that's what I said then, and that's what I'm committing to now. The place is really stable, the football side of things. The flux now comes from the lack of decisions and information in directions that none of us know about. But I have to say that the playing group are outstanding. The coaching from Grady, and a little bit from myself, has been pretty good, and I'm happy with where it's at. It's stable, and that was the reason I jumped into the place, because Heyman left at short notice, and it was important that the philosophies that we agreed upon were continued, rather than rushing into a coach. Now they've got the ability to look at who takes it forward. Confidently, Greenwood should be considered, clearly, because he's been very good. But I'm sure there'll be other candidates and people. I think the reason they want the information to go out now, which is not new information, if anybody have asked me right throughout the week, I said, I was mad to come back for this year, but I've really enjoyed it. It's been good fun.
I was going to say that you've been back at the club for a few years now, but this specific year as the head coach, what's that been like for you? How much have you enjoyed being back in that hot seat?
Well, having good players around helps. I think if you look at the progress over the last few years, our playing staff has gradually got better and a little bit more professional, if that's the right expression. I think they've committed. I think we have a really good Bradford feel about this club, and all the praise and all the advancements are for the players, not particularly for me or for Greenie. It's always about the players, and I think we've got to include the club in understanding that in many respects your club is about the players, albeit we have a fantastic community, we have great fans, we have great staff, we have unbelievable volunteers. There's a great place and a great feel about the place, and that only comes from good people, and the club's full of that at the moment. We're ambitious, I'm ambitious, and so Super League was the goal at the start of the year, and it's still within our grasp.
You speak so highly of those people and everyone around the club, Brian. In that sense, obviously, we know you're not leaving. You're still going to.
No, I'm not going anywhere.
So how important was that?
All those poor people will have to suffer me for the near future, and as well as the medium-term future as well. I think I can still offer something. In fact, I know I can. And was I tempted to go around again? Was I? I don't know. Sometimes on a Monday when you've lost, damn sight, no, leave me alone. I want to kill you. And I think it's time for that full-time energy to come in. The energy that you need to be a coach is huge, and it's a much vilified role. But it's great when it's going well, and I suppose the challenges when it's not going so well are how you're challenged as a person. And I knew I could offer something there, and I think I have.
How nice is it you're still going to be around this without being in that vilified role, if you like, for 2026 and beyond?
I'm not sure that whoever the head coaches will think that way if I have as much influence as I'm supposedly going to have. So I don't see dramatic change. I don't believe in dramatic change. I don't believe in a change of direction. So that whoever's next has the same kind of philosophy, hopefully.
Yeah, and you talk about sort of it being obviously an all-consuming role for the players. It's a lot of time. That week they've gone away and done stuff. They've had a few Fridays. I've seen they've gone and done nice things on weekends. How nice has the last few weeks been? It's felt the teams have really been able to bond off the field a bit as well with the schedule, with the Friday nights. Seems to have been good going at the back end of the season. The players have been able to get that social side almost, if you like.
Well, this has been a great ride right the way through, and that starts in pre-season. Pre-season was tough for the players, and they bonded then, and they gelled then, and I think that's the key to an element of success. You've got to understand what you're in it for, understand what you want to achieve, and you've got to have ambitious players, and we've had all of those things. The fact that they like each other, I think the coaching staff have helped with. And the fact that they're prepared to go away with each other and not fall out after spending most of their daytime days together is a great fillip to them. That's about them. We've got some good players and some good people. I just know, one of my mantras is you can't be a good player and a bad person.
Yeah, I think it's very true. It's been a day of statements, Brian. There was something released at lunchtime talking about the actual pathway towards what will Super League look like in 26.
Yeah.
We won't find out until October the
16th,
16th fully.
Yeah.
I imagine that is, even though we kind of knew that was coming, it's still like it's a bit late. It's very near the start of next season. I guess it's frustrating. It's still going to wait that long to know
Well,
more.
two things.
Yeah.
The timelines, in my opinion, are ridiculous. I might lose an IMBG point there, so be careful. I don't know. I think if the criteria are that's sneaking out, that you've got to be competitive and you've got to be financially stable. Well, I know we qualify on one of them, but if you've got to be competitive and you're not know till the 16th of October about budgets and who you're going to get to and how you're going to get to them, then that becomes difficult. But everybody, we're ambitious. This group are ambitious, and we set out to scratch the door on Super League and be a part of Super League, and that should still be and is the ambition of the club. So our short-term goal is Sheffield on Friday, which I know you'll find ridiculous to bring back to after your question, but the only way we can keep knocking on the door and doing the right things, and players can improve their prospects as to whatever they're doing, Championship or Super League, is to be as good as we can be on this run-in and get to a final.
One more thing on that before I circle back to Sheffield anyway.
Yeah.
Me and Mick say every week, we come every week, we see the good work that Bulls do.
Yeah.
A lot of outside noise, people are like, oh, it's a conspiracy, Bulls good, it's a disgrace.
No.
Is that people that have any valid points, or do they just not see what
There's
the
people
Bulls
that
are
don't
doing
know.
now?
And that's not a criticism them, but it's just people that don't know. I think this club does as much as any Super League club. I'm experienced in all of it, in the community, in society in general, with the academy and the reserves, and the amount of time and effort goes on there with the staff around here. It's truly phenomenal. And so I just, the media we put out, the positivity we put out about the game. So I know that you're always going to get people saying, well, it's Bradford this, Bradford that. That comes with the territory. I know what the club does, and those that take time out to find out the facts will know as well. They'll always be jibing, and we've got to be bigger than that. I think the club's in a really good position, and I think it's got a chance of going strong in Super League, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, like you said, we are getting towards the end of this season now in the Championship. Hopefully, the final one in the Championship for a long time. Got Sheffield on Friday on their 4G. The fact that you came away with a win from Widnes on a similar pitch 2 weeks ago, does that help anywhere? Or is this a totally different game?
Well, the only similarity I think of the surface. You have to take allowance of it, but not too much. I think Sheffield's a bit better than Widnes's one. So, they've got a bit more plastic on it, if you like. So it rolls a bit differently. But it's not a consideration. We've got ourselves to a point where we're playing well. We've had a break, and we need to reinforce the fact that we've been playing with some of our principles. And I think the last thing and the last consideration on my mind is the surface. I think it's about players now aiming up and doing the right thing.
Obviously, you've reworked the schedule slightly with having the break and then the game this Friday in Sheffield. How pleased are you to be able to do that and come at it slightly differently this week?
Yeah, we're going to have 2 good sessions with the players, and then we'll have a final session on Thursday, which is slightly different but not totally different. But I'm a big believer in changing rosters. I'm a big believer in changing circumstances, because circumstances change within games, so they've got to adapt. So understanding that element of adaptability is important, and so we decided the best 3 days for us to train this week before Friday were the ones we've chosen.
Obviously, you've seen the players. At the first of those 3, obviously it's been one of those years up and down with the injury list. How is everything looking now with the players? In terms of anyone on the list, anyone new on the list, anyone still coming back? Or
nobody new on the list. Still a couple of question marks from a couple of weeks ago, not serious ones. I think everybody's fine, everybody's ticky to boo. But just got to make a decision on the teams. The team that's going well probably deserves another go. And if there are any changes, it might be through injury.
Just one final one, Brian. Talk about injuries. Someone who no look at all with him, Will Oakes, who is now at Sheffield. He came, you helped rehabilitate him, the team here in 23.
Yeah.
He was here in 24.
Yeah.
3 years since the game, potentially could make his debut for Sheffield.
Yeah.
First game since June 22. This Friday, I imagine that will be really special for him. That's such a long time out of the game, isn't it?
And we've played a part in his.
Yeah.
He came to us. You know, he tried really, really hard to get into the mix and didn't quite get into the mix. But I have a lot of admiration for Will, and when he's fit, and he's clearly fit now because Sheffield are picking him, he's a handful. So we've got to take account of that, and he'll look to do well against us. So yeah, that's one of the nice success stories. You're right.
Cheers, Brian.
Pleasure.
I know I'm taking you back to the announcement, Brian. It has been announced that you're going to return to a more holistic rugby league role within the club while still supporting the first team next season. How and why has that decision been reached by yourself?
It was always the decision I made when I took the job. I told them I've got probably just a year left in me, so you can have it if you want. I knew I had a lot to offer, but I also knew the energy required to do a coach's job is quite substantial. And did I want to do that for a long term? No, the board knew that. There were a bit of a quandary as to what to do, so I threw my hat in the ring. I said, well, I'll dust off the whistle and we'll see where we can get them to. I was very, very keen to maintain standards that were being adhered to then, and they have been right throughout the season. So it's been an absolute blast. I'm shocked about the level of questions because I don't think I'm going to be that too far away anyway. You know, next year I'm an element of control freak about me, and I'm confident the cricket bat I'll be walking around with next year will get listened to. So it's important that we get the right people. I think in Super League it's a young, exciting man's job. You know, there are exceptions to that. You know, and if needs be, I can always jump back in. But the point is I think if we're where we want to be, which we're aiming for, then I think we've got a bit of time now to get the right person to take the club forward even further. To myself and Greenie have done that, and I hope Greenie's one of the considerations for the job. You know, that's for the board and hopefully myself to decide who that is. So it's important that everybody recognises that whilst I'm stepping back from this role, I hope to have a lot of influence.
When the news broke, Brian, I looked at your sort of opening statement when you were announced as head coach, following, you know, the shock announcement that Eamon O'Carroll would be joining St Helens.
Yeah.
This always felt like it was a short-term plan for you.
Yeah,
for
that's
the club.
why it's not too much of a shock now, and I'm a little bit embarrassed with the questions you're asking me, because would I want to go around? Do you know the temptation is there? We've all got this little bit of ego about ourselves, and you think, oh, could I do that? You know, imagine me being interviewed by Jenna Brooks. It could be a wonderful fucking experience for the whole of rugby league. So I just thought, you know, I've done my fair share, and I've kept the club. We've kept, you know, everybody. It's not just me. It's people like Luke and Jason, and we've all managed to keep the club going in the right direction, forward and upwards, if that's the right expression. We've created lots of interest, and I hope still to be an influence around the place.
When everything is kind of stripped back, how hard or how easy was this decision for you, Brian, to say to Jason, look, you know, regardless whether the club's in the Championship or Super League next year, you know, we do need someone younger who's got more, you know, that more energy?
I'm not sure they'll have more energy or psychopathic movements, but I'm confident that they'll have a bit more nous and aptitude about the game and where they want it to go and apply themselves like that. I think it was purely a lifestyle thing for me. You know, I've been there, done that, and that's not me being arrogant or in any way, shape or form. I knew I could add something to the mix this year, which hopefully I think I've done. And you know, we're on a run-in now, and so my focus is completely on that. That's why I get a bit embarrassed about you asking me these questions. Players
obviously know about it, Brian. What was their sort of reaction when you told them that you'd be standing
Well,
down?
I've drip fed it to individuals. I haven't done a public announcement with the players. I'll probably say something tonight, but it will only be brief, because I think that the interest and the contrasting questions that you're asking me, I've genuinely come as a bit of a shock, because I thought everybody was aware that I was only going to do it for a year. But what I've told the people that I'm committed to and are committed to us is that I'm not going anywhere. So whilst it might be a semi-headline for you blokes, it's the club will go on whether I was to be here or not. I hope to be here in an influential position, which I'm confident I will be.
And knowing how close you are to the club and what the club means to you and what you mean to the club, Brian, how important is it that you're still going to be around in 2026 in this new role?
Yeah, I like to be influential, but I also like to be credible. So a lot of people say stuff and do things that maybe are not relevant, and you have to still be relevant. I don't want to be one of those people that sit around just because it's nothing. I'm all about the future. I've always been all about 2025. It's not about what previously I've done. It's all about what we want to do this year, and I'm trying to invest all of that into the players. And I have a good relationship with the players, but I'm not frightened to tell them the truth, and they are not frightened to tell me the truth. So we've got that good relationship in respect of that. I don't want it to be a distraction in any way, shape or form. That's probably why it's a bit of embarrassment answering these questions. I think that my focus and the players' focus has got to be their futures, the club's future, and the running. We want to get to a final, but there are 6 or 7 other clubs there that are in the same boat, so we have to play well every week. So it's about how we perform, and I can't be more succinct than that. It's about how we perform, and I want that to be the focus. There was a part of me that said I don't really want this to be announced, but if there's any interest out there in the head coach's role, people have to know, don't they? But I did say at the start, I ain't doing this for more than a year.
We know, we've got a mission, that's all.
Just one final one on this, Brian. You stated that your primary mission was always to get Bradford back into Super League.
Yeah.
Does the fact that you're leaving at the end of the year in that head coach role, does it perhaps give you, the players, that sort of extra motivation to achieve that goal? No,
I can't be more motivated than I was a week ago or at the start of the season, or I will be in 6 weeks. It's professional sport and it can go horribly wrong, can't it? And I think the club have a commitment and a duty to find the right person. The fact that it's not me is not an issue, and it hasn't been an issue. It was always going to be thus. The fact that that I'm still going to have an influence on who takes it forward means that there has to be an energy about that person that makes us all believe, the board of directors particularly, Jason Hurst, everybody at the club needs somebody that can continue it hopefully into Super League. The big anomaly is that what's the criteria? How do you get there? Who's doing it? What's the criteria? Please tell us the criteria. How do you qualify? How do you qualify for 12, 13 or 14? I think there's been bits stripped out. I think the worst bit of news is you won't find out till 16th of October. Well, come on, how can you be competitive if you don't know till the 16th of October? So all of those are whinges of me still in the coaching role. We just got to, for this particular group, they deserve to finish on a high. And there's only one way we can do that.
Moving on to Sheffield, Brian, on Friday night. Bradford, they've had their second bye weekend. How has that been for you and the players?
Good, come at a good time. A week off's always handy. You send the players away, and the temptation from the coaches is, right, well, make sure you do 4 sessions while you're away and you watch this piece of video. And I don't believe in that. If you've got a week off, go away from football. Don't think about football. Don't think about me. Don't think about Greeny. Don't think about Nick Bottom and the programmes he's putting in. Don't think about the weights gym you're coming back. Refresh your mind, refresh your body, and come back in and understand that the challenge is considerable facing us towards the end of the year. We've got some tough games, and it starts on Friday against Sheffield. You look at their roster, and they're probably underperforming at the moment. Well, that ain't going to last for long. They're gonna turn the corner against somebody, and we just got to make sure that we're ready for them, properly ready. And then we got Toulouse in a biggie, London, whose form's particularly good at the moment. If you look what they're doing and what they're not doing, and Featherstone to finish. So that's a tough running. But our destiny is pretty much in our hands, and we don't want to be kicking stones around at the end of the week.
Joe Keys made an interesting point after the Doncaster game. He felt that the bye weekend and the main benefits would be helping the side recover from mental fatigue of a competitive and demanding championship season. Do you subscribe to that? Can you understand that the bye weekends allowed the players to rest and refresh and refocus?
Players are different. Sometimes it's mental exhaustion. I don't mean exhaustion as they're out on it, but it's hard maintaining a standard week in, week out. The pressures that come with that, pressures that come with this club. I've always told you it's a heavy journey at the start of the year. Some people are physically tired because of the roles that they play within the joint. So for all of those reasons that Joe's mentioned one side of it, there are other sides of it as well. Get away from my fat face would help. You know, it's simple as that. You know, doing something different for a week and building up to a crescendo at the end. I honestly think the bye week came at the right time.
It looks like training and the training schedule has changed slightly, Brian. Is that a factor in trying to maintain that momentum and focus for the players returning?
Well, you're not going to make players any fitter than they are at the moment for the end of the season. There ain't no programme invented when you're 8/10 of the way through. So it's all about how they feel, their mental application, because your body will follow your mind. And Joe makes a pertinent point about the pressures of playing at a high level of professional sport, which we're at. And so I agree with that, but it's all on again now, so they've got to get their oven gloves on and their tin hats and understand that we're on it now for 6 weeks, 7 weeks.
Clearly the players felt a rest was welcome. How did you and Lee Greenwood treat the bye weekend? I think you said after the game against Doncaster you were going to be burning the candle at both ends looking for potential players and recruitees. Is there any update on the player recruitment?
I was burning the candle at both ends with a couple of lagers, I think you found I said, Michael. I got away for a few days. I followed my own advice in relation to the players. I intended to do lots and lots and lots. I did do lots and lots and lots. And we'll see what the proof of that pudding is.
In terms of new recruitments this week, I think the transfer deadline is midnight on Friday.
Midnight on Thursday.
Yeah, Friday morning, midnight. Yeah.
Watch this space.
In terms of Friday, Brian, can we expect? No. Is that a week? Would that be a week too soon or a game too soon for any new recruits?
Yes.
Okay, so you said watch this space. People will be listening, watching, and they'll be probably crossing their fingers.
Yeah. You don't get much from me, do you, mate?
No, but then I never expect you to openly announce on one of these.
No.
Who's in the side. You've seen Toulouse, Oldham, and York strengthen in the last few weeks. Clearly, if there is players or a player coming, that's obviously going to add to Bradford's quality and depth.
Well, you know the rules, and I'll reinforce the rules. If they're not better or as good as what we've got, then I'm happy with what we've got. I think Chris Hill was an outstanding recruit, and he'll prove his worth as we move forward. If we can possibly get somebody else before the deadline, we'll try. But if they're not as good as what we've got, then I won't use them.
Big 2 weeks for the Championship. I know it is Bradford, Sheffield on Friday night, but you've got the top three all playing each other. Toulouse against York on Friday, and then the week after on the Saturday, Bradford against Toulouse. These are big, important games that carry much more importance, that ultimately, Brian, are going to potentially, even though there'd still be a fortnight's worth of action, to affect those final top three placings.
Yeah, but it means absolutely nothing if we don't perform on Friday. So we'll cover the Toulouse game on Saturday and onwards for next week. Friday is massively important, and I'll be reinforcing that to the group. They've got a game in them, Sheffield, and I said it all year. Who's the one club you want to show up for and show up against? So nothing changes there. So whilst they've had a week off the mental pressure, they can jump straight back into it now.
You've had the week off. Sheffield had the tough trip to Toulouse on Saturday evening.
Yeah.
Is that an advantage that you feel your side can take advantage of on Friday night?
I hope so. It's a tough trip, but they'll be wanting to bounce back. I watched the first half and they were very competitive, Sheffield, very competitive in ridiculous conditions, 37 degrees. You should be on a beach with a pina colada and those kind of conditions, but that's a great. And if you look at what Toulouse do to most teams over there, they run away with the game. So Sheffield have aimed up there, I think, and I'm every reason to believe that they'll aim up against us on Friday. So it's a tough game.
Craig Lingard, clearly disappointed post-match with how that scoreline blew away in the second half. You know, I'm sure you're expecting what he said, you know, to challenge Bradford to ambush and, you know, give them a backlash on the back of that disappointing second half showing against Toulouse on Friday.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect him to say anything other, and I wouldn't expect their players not to respond, especially at home. So we need to be very, very ready.
Just on Toulouse and Sheffield and that result, Brian, it was a big win for Sylvan Ulis' side, which now puts Toulouse back in front of Bradford on the points for and against.
Yeah.
With just how tight the championship table is and how it's potentially looking right up to the end of round 26, is that something you've spoken to the side about? You know, perhaps be a little bit more ruthless, that it could come down to points for and against ultimately? That decides the makeup of the...
I'm not big on points for and against. I'm big on winning, getting over the line and getting the points in the bag. I clearly understand what you're saying. I've been watching the league ladder about how points difference can make the difference, but I reckon if you focus on your performance and not conceding points, then the points generally come. What you can't afford to do is overplay and chase a scoreboard clock, because it becomes ridiculous. So it's all about how we play and how we go about our business, and if getting the 2 points is the main criteria, which is not a given in any game of rugby league.
You look at the last 8 games, Brian, Bradford averaging just 2 tries conceded per game. Clearly that's a strong aspect and something that'll please you. I know it's the easiest answer is to concede one less, but how can that be improved upon? Because that is really good defence. That's a good statistic going into those playoff games.
Well, we're committed to good defence, and we're still committed to good defence, so that helps us along the way. When we don't quite have the fluency that we sometimes like with the ball, it's important that we're still in the game, and you get that with a defensive mentality. I think we've set ourselves some standards that we don't want to drop below, but we're going to get challenged. In these last 4 games, we'll absolutely get challenged, and I think we'll improve.
Something that's gone under the radar, certainly in my opinion, is the goal kicking. Luke Hooley, he's not missed since the game away to Batley. He's kicked his last 17 goals. He's kicking at 89%. Is that goal kicking his to lose now?
Yeah, I think he's our number 1 goal kicker. I think he's shown that. I think he kicks the ball really well. Yeah, I didn't know that particular statistic, but it's important that in tight games particularly, goal kicking is important, and keeping the pressure on the opposition with goal kicking is important. So yeah, that's a nice one. I'll remind Luke of that tonight.
Certainly when you look at the last game against Doncaster, the kicks from the touchline in the past, and I'm not naming any players, Bradford have had a bit of an Achilles heel, Brian, where ultimately goal kicking has cost them points, but to have someone like Luke Hooley who's kicking from all over the shop, that's a real good benefit.
Yep.
I know you've touched upon a little bit of the team's health for Friday. Kieran Gill missed Doncaster with HIA.
Yeah, he's available.
He's back. Obviously George Tafua come through.
Yeah.
You've now got some nice selection headaches again.
Yeah, the type of selection that you need this time of year. You know, the balance of the team's important.
Have you made your mind up yet whether you're going to go with Kieran Gill or George Tafua?
If I have, I'm not prepared to tell you.
Fair enough. Jayden Ockenbaugh, Brian, I know we've mentioned Luke Hooley and his successes, but Jayden Ockenbaugh's scored in his last 8 games. How much of an asset has his try-scoring prowess been to you and the club?
And that's it all year. And some of the defensive stuff he's done, his defensive catching, and all round he's one of our leaders. He speaks well. I think at times he's been the difference with momentum and no momentum. He gets us some good backfield carries as well as his tries. I think people don't see the hard work that he actually does for the team. He does a lot of work.
You've coached teams in the past with strong attacking links. How do you think players like Jayden Ockenbaugh alongside Wonga Blake, Guy Armitage, Kieran Gill, George Tafua enhances sort of Bradford's attacking play on the edges, particularly in terms of that wing 3/4, try-scoring contributions? I was actually tallying everybody's up, and there's 58 tries from those players alone.
On the outside backs.
Yeah, that have scored, which I think it's second just behind York.
Yeah, it's not a bad statistic for a team that can't score points, is it? Or don't play any kind of rugby.
Well, that's why I asked the
outside
question,
backs.
Brian. You know, the stats don't lie. It's there in black and white.
Well, I think we're a good team, and I think those statistics reinforce that.
Just on a player who hasn't yet made his competitive debut, Jamie Gill, he played a strong starring role in that reserves win against St Helens last week.
Yeah.
Yet to feature that
Yeah.
he's developing for the club. What's your message to Jamie, who is, you know, when I speak to him after the games, he's clearly chomping at the bit to be given that first team opportunity?
Oh, keep chomping, and you'll get that first team opportunity. He's got a lot of people in front of him at the moment. That won't always be the case, and all he can do is keep on working the things that the coaches give him, and he has done. You can see that he's improved right throughout the year. He's still a young man. If he continues that same kind of improvement, he has to be considered for sure.
And just finally, Brian, with the news that was released earlier on about you standing down as head coach, 4 games in the playoffs to achieve something special in what is your second stint at the club. Can you really use that?
No, it's not about. Trust me, this is why I didn't want any of this kind of palaver. It's not about me. It's always about the players. All you do is offer them a direction. The players deserve all the credit for what's gone on this year because they've bought into the things we've asked them to do. And would it be nice? Of course it would be nice. It'd be nice for all the players and the staff and the people that work really hard around the club. It'd be good for the club. And I think anybody would tell you that involved at any club. It's genuinely not about me, it's about the players. Would it be nice? Yeah, of course it'd be nice. Nicer than being defeated in a semi-final or not getting where you want to be and not doing. In the main, this team has delivered this year, and they've delivered some great stuff, some great tries, some great defence. They've had an anomaly, but we've had an unusual amount of injuries in the middle part of the season, and I think that they're showing that their true worth at the moment.